And we're live.
Are we
I'm
now?
just going to go ahead and roll the intro, man, while you're doing that, because I know you had a hard
Okay.
stop. So let's
All
do
right.
it.
Cool, cool.
Shut up and sit down.
Boom. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Dope and Dharma with a special, what is this? What is the Thursday edition of Dharma Time?
Is it Thursday?
I don't even know
Yeah.
what day
Yeah,
it
it
is
is.
anymore.
It is.
Yes, so this is Dope and Dharma. This is the Dharma Time Edition. And as always, he is the one and only the Dope Doctor. And I am the Dharma guy still, I believe. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know. Um, it's like all the things run together. My kids started school again, and so it's like my whole world got completely switched around, and I got to get back to a new routine. So when you mess
Oh,
up my routine, like my whole brain just gets scrambled.
oh.
I'm a creature of habit. What can I say, dude? I like my routines, and now my routine has shifted. They're no longer in summer school, and they're no longer in summer. They're back in school. So
Right.
now, like, I have to get up, get them prepared, get them ready, get them to school,
Right.
pick them up from school, deal with homework, and just ride behind them to get things done. So it's uh it's an adjustment for everybody, I guess, right?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, mine is a little bit more expensive, Trinity. I had to go find a house in Boca Raton and rent it out for my daughter. So
Wow.
yeah, this is her first. Instead of being in a dorm room at the college, her and three other friends, found a house. And let me tell you something. My little bougie daughter is very much like me a little bit, and instead
Nice.
of just a regular old college living, she doesn't know what it is to live like a college student. They picked a house that's first of all, it's in Boca.
It's
Boca.
Boca right off the
There's
bat.
no hood
Yeah.
in Boca, bro. There's
No,
no hood in Boca.
no.
And so she's living in a neighborhood with a bunch of attorneys and stuff like that. So that tells you one thing, right? Right
Yeah.
there by school, and then they have a pool.
Nice.
Really, it's a big, nice 4-bedroom house. And then my daughter had to have the master. Had to have the master, and that means daddy pays more for that
Wow.
luxury. So
Good
because she wanted
times.
her own private bathroom. So
No, excuse me. Right
yeah,
on.
exactly.
Well, so today, I know this might not be our normal hour because you got a hard stop. You got the life of the celebrity. You got to go do something.
Is that what it is? No, it's the
Somebody somewhere is expecting to see you. So
community obligation, man. The president of the managing entity. I gotta go manage $119 million. You want to do that?
not really, no. Um, but anyways, so there's a topic that came up recently in the last couple of days that bears some discussion, right?
Right,
Because I think on surface level it feels very surface level actually.
right.
But the more you look into it, there's some deeper rooted meaning there, and I think we would like to explore that just a little bit today. So,
Yeah,
um, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about the situation between Michael Orr, the I think he's ex NFL player now,
right.
and his maybe or maybe not adoptive parents. I say that because the story, as told through Sandra Bullock's interpretation, I guess, in the movie The Blind Side, um, Michael Orr was essentially adopted by this family
They
who.
thought. No, he thought.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said apparently. He was apparently adopted by this family, brought in, and they took him in as their own and loved him and cared for him and raised him. He ended up having a very successful football career, if you will. He went to college and he ended up making it to the pros.
Yep.
And then while he's in the pros, obviously he made some money. He turned to them for some guidance and assistance, to which I'm going to say they all benefited from, maybe some more than others. I think that's where part of the discrepancy comes in.
Mm.
Um, and then I guess it's coming out now that the adoption never actually took place, like,
Right.
officially, if you will.
There's a
Um,
conservatorship.
yeah, and so it's causing some friction, and essentially what's happening now is everybody's kind of picking sides, right? I say everybody, but those who are interested in this type of stuff
Yeah.
are picking sides, and some people are hung up on the what looked to be at first glance as this fairy tale, and then they're feeling kind of let down and ruined that this supposed fairy tale
Right.
that they believed in now maybe not be as factual as we
Right.
once thought it would be. Then you also have some extremes where people are saying that apparently, this is news to me, that apparently Sandra Bullock should give back the awards that she won for her portrayal of that woman, because I guess the story was a farce. I have seen some people doing the whole "I told you so," because at the time the very negative individuals, the very pessimistic people were saying that this isn't going to end well, this isn't true, so they feel very happy and vindicated at the moment because they're like, I told you.
Good for you.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, for me, I guess my initial reaction is just it's sad, right? Like that's my initial reaction. It was a feel good story. I still think it is a feel good story in the
Right.
sense that, and I think this is the crux of what we're getting into today. Is my immediate thoughts are you can't take away though the life that he still had growing up, right? Like regardless of what the paperwork said, he still was loved and welcomed into a family. He still was given opportunity, and he was still able to work those opportunities to achieve greatness in his sport, and make it to the highest level you can make it. And I'm going to assume he lived a pretty good life, right? Like I don't know his specific life, but it seems like he was loved through that family, and it seems like he was financially secure going to the NFL. I mean, he's a lineman, right? So he's not going to get the money. For those of you who don't know football, he's not going to get the money of a skill position, right? He's not going to get the quarterback money, that kind of stuff. But he's not exactly living, in the hood either. He's making six figures. He's doing well. He wasn't hurting for money, right?
Those offensive linemen that protect quarterbacks get paid a lot more than a lot of skill positions.
Some of them, not the big names, right? I just think that some people, when they think NFL athlete, they think the Peyton Mannings of the world and stuff. We're getting these ridiculous $20 million a year contract, and not everybody in the NFL makes that, right? Like some of the lower tier guys, they're making the league minimum is still six figures. So like I said, none of them are trying to figure out where the next meal is going to come from. But my point being is just he lived a lifestyle that I think a lot of people would be envious of,
right?
And so I feel like people are starting to take away from that a little bit. So what are your immediate thoughts? This is his topic, by the way. So we're doing it.
Oh, come on, you blame. Look, my immediate thought on this is why writers kill off like really good characters in their movie before they end the movie. So you can't come back and do a horrible sequel. Like we had a good first movie. It was supposed to end right there. That was the happy ending.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is the story. There's this kid. He's broke. His family's all disrupted. He's in a bad neighborhood. If he just had a chance, if he just had an opportunity, if he just was surrounded by some love and nurturing, God, what could he do in this life? And so his family takes him in. They nurture him. They take him in as their own, and then he does very well. And the happy ending is he becomes a professional football player. Wow, he got his dream. That's the way the movie's supposed to end.
Sure.
That's the way all of us put it in our heart. That's why we're all so affected. That's why this is news, because it was such a great story.
Yeah.
It was such a great movie that's how it was supposed to be. You're not supposed to come back and do a part 2 that destroys the characters that you fell in love with.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if you fell in love with the Tuohys, you're not supposed to walk away from it now and be like angry with the Tuohys.
I'm just picturing the Brady Bunch where they're all in jail now or something,
Well, just imagine if they found out Rudy cheated or something like that. You know what I mean? Like we love Rudy. Don't ruin Rudy in Notre Dame, man. Don't come back and ruin what the story of Rudy was, right? But that's exactly what's happening. And so everybody has these emotions, right? Everybody have these feelings about, wait a minute, this is how I felt about that family, and now I have to defend them because I have these feelings about, like, as if we all know them.
Well, there's a full disclosure here. There's a full disclosure here too, though, right? Like there is, like, if we're gonna go, we got to cover both sides of this, right? We got to cover the optimistic side, and we have to also cover the cynical side.
Sure.
And what I mean by the cynical side is the cynic in me wonders how much of a coincidence it is that Michael Oher also came out with a book right around this same time. Like he's got a book out that he's trying to promote.
It's called Brilliant.
Yeah, like
regardless.
Of course, I'm not saying that it's not, but like let's keep in mind here that there's other factors at play that might contribute to why this is becoming a story.
I have some thoughts on that. Because when a book is coming out, that's when you start meeting with publicists. That's when you start meeting with a lot of heads, right? Like when there's no book and you're a retired NFL player, you don't have people knocking on your door
Sure.
talking about your story, exploiting your story. But when something's about to come out, all of a sudden everybody gets interested again and starts digging. And when there's digging in conversation, sometimes you answer questions, because you get media prepared, and you realize what, So it's entirely possible that in the process of writing the book, and coming out, and his second book, by the way, and then about to come out, that things were discovered. That's entirely possible. That
It
things
wasn't
got
just discovered. He actually filed a suit.
Yeah, but according to him, he got discovered in February that it was a conservatorship and not an adoption. That there was no adoption ever.
What's the difference, by the way, between conservatorship and
Oh,
adoption?
brother, I am not that expert.
Okay, 'cause I
all
don't
I know
know
is exactly what everybody here heard, which means somehow they bring you in, and they can. That means you get certain advantages, whether it be medical services, whether it be school services, whether it be like things, tax things for the family because they're taking care of you. There's all kinds of little, I guess, legalities that allow
Didn't
them
Britney
to
Spears have one of
participate.
those?
Yes, that allow
Okay.
them to participate as usually people have it when they're somehow disabled. Like there's something emotional. They're so emotionally disabled, or they are unable to manage their own affairs. You sign on to one of these things so that people can make sure that your best interests are taken care of. So I guess there could be an argument made that happened. I don't know. The reason we're doing this show is because I think we all need to take a pause.
Yeah.
We all need to just wait a minute. Just because our emotions are involved in these characters, because we feel like we know them, because whatever we took from that movie, we all want to keep what we took from that movie. And I guess what we're saying, what Trinity and I are saying, is don't let that be ruined. If you took some good feelings and emotions out of the movie, then let it be what it is. Let the magic still exist. You don't. If every movie you see you believe is truth, then that's on you. That's on you. That's your expectation. We say it all the time. These are expectations, but don't let it ruin how you're feeling, and don't get in arguments with people about who's right and who's wrong, because we don't know all the facts yet.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're right. We don't know if he's right. They both may be right. They both may be wrong. Usually that's the case. Usually there's some points either way. But I think that at least for me, the emotions and the good feeling, because I love the movie. I think it was a great movie that I took from it. I just want that to sit where it's at. You know what I mean? And this is why sequels are horrible. This is why, I was so worried with the multiple Godfathers.
Wasn't Godfather 2 better though?
Dude, the Godfather 2 was very good. But the Godfather family of movies is on a totally different level.
Sure.
But I guarantee you that's why we haven't seen another one in a very long time, because it's like, because it kept on being good. It kept on being good. The last one's a little debatable, but still kept on being good. Like, how do you keep that up, right? But this is different. This is changing the characters. This isn't just a sequel. This is changing the motives. This is changing the first story. This is like a behind-the-scenes look, and the behind-the-scenes look is like a tragedy.
Yeah.
Like, was he lied to? Were they really evil people taking advantage of this poor man? And in a time like right now, where everybody's so emotionally divided, racially divided.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they're a white family.
It doesn't
and
help.
A black kid.
Yes.
It doesn't help in today's world.
We didn't need this. We didn't need this. Because this makes it look like, oh, here's an example of a rich white family taking advantage of a black kid. What? Because he's an athlete, because he was good. And so that family of individuals that are feeling that way are entrenched in that storyline. He was taken advantage by the white man. And then the other people that are thinking, oh man, I give, nothing's ever good enough. You're always complaining. So now that group of families, like, see, look,
everybody's angry.
You're the victim. Yes, you're the victim. You got millions of dollars, gave you all this, and now you're still complaining. You want more. So both sides are entrenched, and you can hear it. And I hear it. It's coming, Trinity. Yeah. It's coming. I hear people entrenched in their sides and arguing, and anyone saying that Sandra Bullock should give up her Oscar because who she portrayed. That's just really so now. That's just plain ridiculous. Yeah, I ain't giving back nothing. If I wanted to work for something else for acting like that person, that was it. That was it. Right now the Screen Actors. This is funny because we know that the SAG actors and all the writers are in strike right now, right?
Yes.
But we all know damn well they're writing.
Probably, yeah.
They're all, bro. As soon as they heard it, they're back there writing, going, "Dang, bro! As soon as we're off strike, I'm turning this in." I'm turning this in. Day one when strike is over. There's gonna be a lot of scripts all of a sudden
Oh yeah.
floating around, man. So
But you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a situation, right, that I've heard so many times, and it was still does, I guess, bother me. And that is anytime somebody's in a relationship that it's like a great relationship, it's doing good, they're both benefiting, it's fantastic, getting all the good warm fuzzies, and then something happens and they break up 5-10 years later, whatever. And then they're like, oh, well, this was all a big waste, right? Like if we didn't get married, have kids, and live together forever, it's a waste.
Right.
Which it bothers me because, like, if that's how you're looking at it, like, I
Right.
think you're missing the boat there,
Right.
right? Like if you're gonna have all these memories and all these wonderful experiences and just this life around it, and then because it didn't fit your expectations or what you thought should happen in the end, somehow that negates all those other things. Like I feel sad for the people who think that way.
Right.
But that's what it sounds like to me. Like
Right.
somehow that whole story is a complete farce now because of one minor detail. And
It's a big detail though. It's like the
it though?
detail of the movie. Yeah.
is it though?
kinda, yeah.
Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. To me, the detail is he still had a good life, dude. He had not such a good life, and then he had a good one. Like they didn't have to do
Yeah.
that. Even conservatorship or adoption, they didn't have to do that. They could have just been like, screw this kid. I got my own life. They didn't. They brought him into his home. They helped him. Like, and it's my recollection. Obviously, it's just based upon a movie that I saw many, many years ago, and I don't know the actual details.
Mhm.
But based upon my recollection, it appears to me that he wasn't even a football star when they met him. Like he got into football after he was taken in by them.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know.
So regardless, my
don't know
point
the
being though, if you look at the life he was living versus the life he ended up having, I think it was an upgrade. And he is who he is today, both the good, the bad, the indifferent, and the ugly, because of the lifestyle that he had. And so, would he have been on the same trajectory? We don't know, right? But if I'm going to wager on it, is it likely that he would have had the same? No, it's not likely that he would have had the same outcome. And so I don't like it when people they completely negate, this all the good because of one thing that would be some people would label bad or whatever, right? And bad is a subjective term, anyways. But I don't like it when people throw out all this fantastic, wonderful things because of one situation that ran amok, if you will. And then the other half of that with this particular one, I don't like it either when people just rush to judgment. As you pointed out, right now, there's so many people with opinions on this about who's good. Like people are turning on like this family as if they know everything, like they lived in their house and they know it all. It's like, whoa, man, like there's a lot of stuff we don't know yet. And so, yes, while it might feel good to rush to judgment, right? Like it might make our ego feel good, like we're somehow morally superior because we can, hey, they're horrible people. Like I would just caution people, right? Like that's where the title of the show, When Judgment Goes Wrong. Go ahead.
Yeah. I this reminds me of like, people that you and I both know that found out things later in life and they start feeling like, was my whole life a lie? I believe this person, like if I'm in any situation where I believe my parental unit is my parental unit for whatever reason, and later find out they're not, it's a sad story regardless. That's a sad story. Now I'm not saying the response and the reaction and how all this is playing out is how I would wish it to be if I would find myself in that situation. But what I'm saying is that that's a whole other story in itself. And this could have been done differently. It's not being done differently. I don't know why it's not being done differently. You would think that if both sides were financially motivated, if that were the case, they would have found a better way to do this where they would have made a hell of a lot more money by utilizing this information. Or this is real brilliant. I don't know. Here's where I'm going with it, though. We all have experiences in our life which we later find out are different, right? Whether it be, you're a kid, you think a certain way, you feel a certain way, and you come to realize, what do you mean dad was in the CIA? What do you mean mom was a drug trafficker? What are you talking about? Like what? Don't you guys have those experiences? I remember getting older and find out my mom was an arms dealer all of my life. Like what? She was an arms dealer, like all around the world.
I think we all have that though, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
No, I mean not that.
My mother's an arms dealer. I don't know about yours.
Yeah, well, maybe not that specific thing, but we all have that moment when we grow up and realize our parents aren't these
Yeah,
magnificent
that's
heroes
what I'm
that we
saying.
once thought they were,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like,
what I'm saying. There's
they're
all
flawed
kinds of little
humans.
things like that. The
Yeah.
tooth fairy does not exist. Santa Claus is not real.
Wait,
You know,
what?
by the way, put the kids away. Yeah, I should have said
Wait,
that
what?
first. Yeah, exactly. The Rock is not coming to your house to leave you a little
Damn.
money.
I'm gonna go get my teeth out of my thing, man.
But these things occur in life, you know, and I think this is a moment in time again where I say, for we're all trying to figure out motives, right? We're all looking for the motive, like what is that about? What is that about? And we're all digging into our feelings of how we felt about each character within the movie, and however you felt about that movie and the characters are within the movie, and then you add to that how you feel in today's world socially and politically, and then now you're watching then your response comes, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we're all responding, and some people are reacting to this, and I think we just need to let it play out. This is not our life, this is their life. And we all need to understand our place in this world is to do the best in our family, and so if you're currently in a situation where you feel I'm not being 100% honest with my child or with my loved one, and it might come out, it can be painful in the future. Maybe there's some lessons that we can all learn about that right now, because there are a lot of people like that. I bet, like, as a counselor, I've counseled a lot of people who know that they are the parent of a child that doesn't even know that they're the parent. And look, you might be fine with that, and maybe you think that it's better that the kid doesn't know that. But I don't know if that's your call. I don't know if that's your call. I don't want to judge you. I'm just saying it's moments like these where, while we're looking at someone else's life, that there's all kinds of parallels that you can look at and go like, man, is there something I'm holding back and not saying? And is it going to be that painful for my child later on? Regardless of the outcome, regardless of what, but look at your life. Look what I gave you. Yeah, but my whole life is a lie. Because if they feel like their whole life is a lie, or that their life is a lie, or that somehow you added another motive, it could, in their mind, negate all the good moments, all those memories of fishing with them and playing ball with them in the backyard and crying together, holding on to each other, all the great moments, because painful moments are so much easier to remember for some reason. One painful moment can knock out a lot of great. I mean, look, you're a parent, I'm a parent. We've joked about little things where what our kids might say as they're walking away. I hate my life, or something like that. You're like, really? So this is where you die. Right here, this is the hill, that you're picking, all the great stuff that we all do together, and all of a sudden it's because you can't have that, your world should end. Yeah, yeah, it's that unfortunate. So maybe this is a moment where we can all look within ourselves and say, am I walking forward with somebody that may not know the whole truth about our relationship or where we stand or how we're doing, and if so, do I want it to continue, or am I still okay if when they find out, they find out? Because I'm under the belief that all things eventually get found out.
Well, I think that's I think that's what people forget sometimes in those kinds of situations, right? Is there's a contract here. You went into this situation full well knowing that maybe you're being a little dishonest here, or like not completely forthcoming in all the details. And you very well might have your reasons for that. Who knows? And you might even be right, to be honest with you. Right. You might even be right. It would be a terrible thing for them. Who knows? But the other half of that contract, right? It's like a credit card. It's great to buy a bunch of stuff on your credit card, but that bill is going to come due one day.
Right.
And so in this situation, the contract that you're signing it's a very real possibility that the person's going to uncover the truth. Right. Somehow, some way it's going to come out. Maybe you tell them, maybe they find a letter somewhere. Maybe you got a drunk uncle that just on Thanksgiving blurts it out. Who knows, man? Right. It's potentially and most likely going to come out at some point. And the contract you're signing is you're going to deal with whatever those consequences are. Because when that happens, nobody's going to care about your perspective anymore. Yeah. It's going to be completely negated by that person's feelings.
Right. You're bringing up a real important point that I think we need to touch on, Trinity, when you say sign a contract, because I'm hearing a lot of people say, but he was 18 years old. And I'm thinking, you do realize that we have a lot of dead soldiers that signed a contract at 18.
Right.
That went off to war after signing a contract at 18. Sure. That's a very serious contract they signed. And yet in our society, we feel comfortable with allowing them to sign it. And there's a lot of you that are petitioning for people under the age of 18 to even vote in an election. So remember, what you think is old and what you think is young is all determined based on, does it fit the narrative or does it fit my ideology in a certain way? I
Right.
personally think 18 is very young, right?
Yes,
But it's because
18
I'm
is young.
53. But if
Yeah.
you asked me at 17, I would think that 18 is old.
Oh, I would have argued with you about how 18 is old.
Right. So
Yeah.
so it's like that sign that my wife always had at her childhood home. Her dad had put the sign up in the bathroom. It says, "How long a minute is depends on what side the door you're on." You know, and that's exactly the truth here, right?
I love that. That's awesome.
It's a true statement, right? So
Oh yeah.
we need to understand that in one moment, yeah, 18 sounds a little young to be signing this, but at the same time, there's people that have signed over their life at 18, and you guys weren't arguing that. You guys aren't
Sure.
fighting that information. As a matter of fact, you're fighting for them to be able to be younger to sign in very
Yeah.
important documents and to be, speaking out very young. Now,
Plus, he signed multiple contracts, by the way, too. It wasn't just one at 18, and that was the only one he ever got. Like he
that was a
signed
conservatorship, though.
Sure,
Right.
but he had many years to dispute that or look
Right.
into it. He
And,
didn't,
and here's
for whatever reason.
another thing. Again, a lot of people out there always hating on attorneys, right? Now I got a lot of attorneys in my family, so I got a lot of people in my family for you to hate on. There's a lot of attorneys, and people hate on them all the time. Say, attorneys this, attorneys that, attorneys this, and then they say, oh, the family had an attorney that signed that conservatorship at 18 with him, but he didn't have his own individual attorney
Sure.
read that document. Everybody's, see, they should have provided him an attorney. I thought you hated attorneys. I thought you didn't want attorneys. I thought you thought attorneys are, if they would have done that, they would have, who else would have paid for that attorney at him at 18, by the way? Who would have offered that attorney? What in our system has an attorney sit with you when you sign over to be in the military at 18 years old? What attorney is there representing that kid? Nobody.
Yeah.
There's no attorney. It's have you ever sat with recruiters? Have you ever heard the way
they sell you the sun and the moon and the stars,
man? They had my brother convinced he was going to keep his long hair. They had my brother convinced, about a lot of stuff,
Oh, yeah.
And then I remember my dad looking at him and says, "Yeah, go ahead. All right, whatever you want to believe. I'm a command sergeant major in the Army, right?" Like my dad knew the rules of the Army. My brother's trying to tell him, "Nah, Dad, it's different." They're telling me, and he's like, "All right." My brother found the truth out real quick.
Day one.
Yeah. So do we have attorneys there? No. Again, everything can be looked at in hindsight, and you can have all kinds of feelings and emotions and thoughts about something. But you got to realize none of this is new. None of this is different. And again, you're only having emotions and feelings based on what you saw in that movie or where you sit socially or politically right now. That's where a lot of your emotions are coming from. Whether you saw the movie and you had a certain takeaway, whether you're sitting somewhere really hard socially right now or you're sitting somewhere really hard politically right now. Those are the people that I feel not responding. They're reacting.
Yeah, whatever.
Those are the reaction. Those are the reactors right now. Now the responders are sitting back and going, "Oh, well, that's sad. Oh man, God, that was such a good movie. Wasn't that a good movie, man? Let's get it tonight. Let's rewatch it tonight." Those are the responders. It's like, "Oh man, that was a really good movie." The reactors are like, get rid of get back to Oscar. Oh, those people, they were using the poor black kid. They used it. Calm down.
Well, like we always say, two things can be true, right? Like this can be an amazing and inspiring kind of great story,
right.
And it can also be a sad story.
Right.
Like two things can be true. It is a great story because I'm sorry, but I look at my own life and I'm not really in a position where I'm going to run out there right now and take in somebody else's kid into my home and like raise them as my own. Like it sounds like a great idea, but at the same token, man, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. And I don't think very many people are willing to do that at the moment.
But you did. But you did.
To an extent. Yeah,
you did. You really did. Look, see, I call BS on it. You did. You're a step parent.
Differently, sure, but
Trini, that is
they're blood related to my wife, though.
But they're not blood related to you, and you love them
True.
like they're your kids. Like you don't even
True.
separate that. You love
True.
them and take care of them, and I've seen you raise them. So you did do that.
Sure, no,
so
absolutely.
There are people like you out there that exist.
Yeah,
and there's people out there in your exact situation that didn't do that,
Sure.
So that the reason you did it isn't because they're your wife's kids. You did it because you're a good person. Because there's a lot of people that married a person with with children and didn't accept them like you did.
True.
So,
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. I would argue that it's slightly different when you're not even related in any way, shape, or form. Just somebody else's random kid bringing in. I don't know if I would compare them directly. I think they're in the same ballpark. I agree. But my point in all that was, it's a great story. It's inspirational and it's awesome. Like it's a very cool and loving thing to do, to bring in another human being into your life and
Yep.
try to provide and support them and be there
Yeah.
and love them. While at the same token, it's also sad to make somebody feel as if you were dishonest with them the whole time. You know, like I think it's and what's even more sad, to be honest with you, is the fact that it's playing out in front of everybody. Like that to me is just like, I can't imagine having a very intense and emotional dispute with my family and then having the world feel the need to
Right.
comment on it and pick
Right.
sides. Like that to me would make it exponentially worse than what because it's already terrible, right? Because if they, assuming for the sake of the conversation, this was not a farce, they truly loved this kid, they truly meant the best for him and wanted the best for him, to then find out that for whatever reason he's feeling this way now and you've hurt him, that's got to be a devastating moment for them, right? That's got to be terrible to feel that way. And then from his perspective, to for whatever reason arrive to the conclusion that, hey, these people who I've loved my whole life might not really want the best for me. That's like a terrible thing for both sides to come to terms with.
Right.
And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, right? And hopefully as a family they arrive at the truth somewhere, despite all the noise. But then to have people like us and everybody else chiming in and doing videos, and it's like, wow, that's got to be horrible, right? Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like a pretty in-depth, intense familial moment between you and Danny and the kids, and then like everybody's got an opinion and they're putting it out there, like that's just, oh man, that's got to be horrible, horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And then the cynics will say, yeah, but they're making money off it. So, I mean,
It doesn't change the fact that it still sucks.
that's right. Still sucks.
How many people you go to a job every day that you get money, but you still think it sucks, right? Like you hate your job, but it's paying you though.
Yeah. So, and the sad thing is there's a lot of stories like this, right? I equate it to like a story like what Marissa on Facebook Live put about like Britney Spears, like childhood actors and childhood entertainers and stuff like that. Because that's what it was, right? He was, he may not have been an actor, but he was
Earning
a
potential is the
child
same.
star. Yeah, it was similar, right? It was similar. In other words, like the Corey Feldman when he's sued his family. When what's the kid from Different Strokes, man? Oh, I love that kid. Oh, he
Man,
was so funny.
Oh, I know you talk about. I can't think of his name in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Was it Emmanuel Lewis?
Arnold.
No,
No, that's the other one. That's the show I didn't watch. I watched Different Strokes and didn't watch, Mr.
Webster?
Belvedere or whatever. Webster. There you go.
Yeah.
But they all had issues with their parents, right?
Yeah.
Like they made a lot of money, they made millions of dollars, and then their parents they felt like did something with the money. This is a story though that so far they haven't been able to track a lot of money to the family. So far, there hasn't been any kind of report that the family made a lot of money. I mean, unless you call $100,000 each a lot of money. But let me tell you something: the movie made over $300 million.
Right.
So, who really profited off this story, and who will profit again off the sequel? Like Marissa said,
the production studios.
Yeah, look, like I said, there's a lot of writers right now that are writing their little hearts out. Calling Michael right now and says, your story should be the next movie.
Yeah.
This next book.
So I know your hard stop is coming up. So you got any final thoughts to put a bookmark on this? Or
Yeah, I just think spiritually, I think that when you have a memory or a moment in your life, whether it's something that you watched or whether it's something that you experienced, and it puts a nice little warmth in your heart and makes you feel good about life or about people or about humanity, don't allow the very next moment or the next day ruin that gift that you were given. We gotta latch on to those little gifts of those moments and those times that make us feel good about people, that make us feel good about ourselves, because the painful moments are the painful moments immediately go into our long-term memory, but not good moments. Good moments, we have to practice remembering them, and we have to practice, studying them in order for them to become part of long-term memory. Whereas negative moments and painful moments immediately embed themselves and get entrenched into our long-term memory and forever guide our next actions. And I think that's where we're at right now. This is a good lesson in, if this made you feel good, warm and fuzzy, let the warm and fuzzy continue. This is their life. This is not yours. This is their pain, not yours. And whatever lessons you took initially, don't let it change the way you felt about it. Don't let it make you look differently upon those that open their homes to the unfortunate or to people in bad situations. And at the same time, don't look at youth as if they become so ungrateful once they make millions or make other money and stuff like that. There's just whatever you had from it, let it remain what it was. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I would second all that. The only thing I would probably add to it is just cynicism. Like it can feel good at times to just poo poo on everything and be very cynical and think the worst of everything because you've experienced, as you said, you have long term memories of quote unquote negative things happening, which makes you forget of all the positive things that accompany that. It was the old adage of, would you throw away a Bentley because it's got a dent in the side of the door? No, it's still a $300,000 car, right? Like,
Wow.
it's got a dent, sure, but it's still a Bentley. And so I think that this idea of cynicism can feel very romantic at times, and you can feel very vindicated when it goes your way. When you can be cynical and then it pans out, it feels so good. You'd be like, I told you so. But I would caution you, because optimism feels so much better for so much longer. It really does. And there's so much more to love about this world than there is to poo poo on, right? Like, if you think, like, once again, if you think about your day and you're like, oh, I had a bad day. Did you really have a bad day, or did you have a bad few moments in that day? And so that's the same thing with this. You're getting cynical about some stuff, but in reality, his story is still a beautiful story.
Right.
It might be marred a little bit in some people's eyes because of a couple details, which may or may not have nefarious, means to, or intentions. Who knows? But it's still a good story, man. Like, it's still a story I think many people would prefer to have rather than their own. And so, yeah, don't let the cynicism take over, because that's a very dangerous, road to go down. So,
Right.
anyways, that's what I got for today. I know you got to go be famous or something. Um, I'm gonna mess with you all the time about that. Anyways, all right, that's all I got, man. So now that you know better, do better. Peace.